What's going on, guys? Thank you for tuning in. Today I want to show you my 5 ways to get over beat block. I'm sure you've seen many similar videos like this on YouTube, but I wanted to take this time to do my edition of it, so hopefully you enjoy it. Stay tuned. This is currently my favorite plugin to use to get over beat block. The reasons why I will show you here in a second, but I found the most effective way to use this plugin is by turning off the ARP because I don't want it to arpeggiate. And to kind of show you guys what this plugin does before I show you the other thing is when I click one key, it will play a chord. And if you look at the top left corner, it'll show you I'm only playing one key. And if you want different kind of chord progressions, things like that, you can go to the chord presets. Don't pay attention to some of these. These in particular are third-party patches or plugins or whatever. Not plugins, patches. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go to the diatonic, I believe that's what it's called, and I'm going to click on E minor, G major, just because. And so now when we click one key, it'll be different from last time. So I'm just going through all the cues showing you guys what it does. Usually though, when I really want to be effective with it and I want to work quickly, I will go to this gear section. I will change the input and output to 1, and then I will find another plugin. Right now I'm just going to use Electra X. I'm going to change this to 1 as well, and I'm also going to make sure to mute this because I don't want to hear the sound that it generates anymore. And I'm going to just go to a sound that I've made before, something simple, the little crack sound. This is what it sounds like. Whoops. Right. And so now with Cthulhu, since we've routed them together, when I play or when I hit a key with Cthulhu, it will now play the Electra X sound in a chord versus one key. Right, so I think that's super cool, and it really sped up my workflow when I do use Cthulhu. Personally, I don't use Cthulhu all the time though, because clearly I'm not on beat block all the time. These are just methods that I use when I'm in beat block, or maybe if I'm in the studio I need to make something really quickly. That's actually a great reason to use Cthulhu for things like that. There's times when I'm in the studio and I have about, honestly, a 15 to 20 minute window to create a beat for the artist to get on if I haven't already played him beats that he didn't like. And so that can be really stressful trying to create something from scratch, and that's definitely a big plus, is being able to create good sounding music as quickly as possible, because artists have little patience out here in LA and kind of just in general when it comes to being in the studio, especially because studio time is expensive, you know, this and that, blah blah blah. I could go on about it. That's one way that I really like about it. And from doing this, you can also, of course, adjust some of the keys to do this and that, but I found the best way is to just sort of plug them in like this, whatever. And I'm not gonna fix it for whatever reason. Just gonna play that right. And if I wanted to take these chords, I can always take the time to go into the piano roll and kind of look at where they're at. So right now it's at a C sharp, then it's at a C sharp again at a higher octave, and then it's at a, what is that, C, D, E. My music theory is a little rusty, as you can tell. And then that's at a what? C, D, E, F, G, A. So that's at A. And I might have to take it down an octave. Seems a little too high. And so now if we mute this, yeah, now it's playing the same. And usually I will do it that way because it gives me more creativity. Also add instances where I have higher notes playing, this and that. Just whatever I can do to make it more so my own creation. Whenever I'm making music, I usually want to be able to say I did a majority of the work. That's just personal preference though. On to the next one. The second way I find myself getting over beat block is probably the #1 way people get over beat block, and that is by learning music theory. And now I know for many people that is a snore fest, and especially with where music is at right now, not a lot of people really need to know advanced levels of music theory. But if you look at people, you know, like London on the Track, Zaytoven, anybody who could just play the piano really well, I don't think people like that ever get beat block. And so I think really in general that's the number one way to get over music. And I think in some cases you should kind of know at least a little bit of music theory. You should at least be able to identify the keys on a piano and maybe some scales, whatever, you know, even little things like that will make a big difference in your music. But I am nowhere near advanced enough or knowledgeable enough in music theory to really give this rant anyways, but here I am still doing it. But yeah, that's easily the number one way. You can go to a Barnes and Nobles or any bookstore that sells music theory stuff, and you can buy like Music Theory 101, things like that, or you can go online. There are tons of classes, or you can study plugins like Cthulhu. I know there are other plugins that sell or that are like chord generating things. There's a cop car coming, 1 second. And or you know, you can take a piano class. I took that when I was in community college for a little bit until I dropped out, and so I unfortunately lost that. But you know, but all in all, I mean, I think if you really take music seriously and you want to be as skilled and whatever as possible, on top of if you're a talented producer already, imagine if you applied, you know, music theory, and you were able to identify chords and play piano pieces like it was nothing. You know, imagine, it's, people call it the cheat codes of music, but you know, 20 years ago, I don't think it was called cheat codes. I think it was just called being a producer. So it's interesting how the times have changed. I'm not mad at it, you know, I think to each his own, but definitely doesn't hurt to know music theory. And as I've grown more as a producer, it's only helped me and benefited me. Now I'm going to talk about the third and probably most controversial topic on here, and that is the whole loops and midis age that we're in right now, where the majority of top charting songs you're hearing right now are created with loops or midis. And I personally don't mind it. I'm not against it at all. I have 2 loop kits that I've created recently on my site. I see it, at the end of the day, if it helps you create a record, especially a top charting record, I have no problem sharing percentages. I have no problem sharing co-production credit, because at the end of the day, I'd rather have a top charting record, or a record in general, than no record at all, you know? And so I think people that get so caught up in that, and I don't know if it's ego driven or if it's just wanting to have creative control, and it's understandable either way, but I've come to care less about that and think more so, okay, well, you know what, this gave me a record, and this gave me a beat. I feel like the main reason why people are using them is because the demand for beats is so heavy nowadays, as more and more artists are coming to light. You know, there's no longer 10 artists that are super famous. They're gonna do like 1 million album sales first week. There's now 10,000 artists, and they're all dropping a bunch of singles or mixtapes. You know, no one's really dropping albums per se, at least according to labels. But and so I think the demand for beats has grown to such an exponential rate that it's so hard to keep up with the want. And by having loops, you can really create something without having to go so in depth and move on to the next one. And that's where a lot of people are winning right now. When you look at people like Nick Mira, or I don't know if Cash Money AP does it exactly, but I know that he's making a shit ton of beats, and there are many people like that right now. So that's kind of where I'm at, and I think that's kind of where a majority of people should be at if they really want to succeed in this new age where you have to have so many beats. The fourth way that I get over beat block, and it's a really interesting way, and it never ever comes out the way that I want it to, but it always gives me a really interesting response, is by taking say a sample or a loop. I'll use one of my own just because I'm gonna use, sure, why not, this would be interesting. I'm gonna right click this, go into an audio editor, and I'm gonna go to the tool section of this, and I'm gonna go to convert to score and dump to piano roll. And so I think what this initially tries to do is it tries to tell what the keys are being used and blah blah blah, so that it can translate that onto the piano roll. But every time I do it, it ends up coming out something like this. And when we play it, and so what I mean by gives you not what you're looking for, when I play the actual sample or the loop that I made, it has some similarities, but it's definitely not, you know. It was able to follow the bass note, but not so much the other sounds. As you can tell, it starts to freak out. But this does give me an idea of, you know, something that I could use if I, one, fixed some of these, kind of quantized them. The way I could do that is I could select these, go in, change the step to line, and then just go Control Q. And so now they're still not quite on, but I can go in and modify them some more. I don't know what this is gonna sound like, but it's just, you know. I could obviously add some new chords. And maybe mute some of the sounds too, but you guys get the idea. The result will be different every time, but I feel like in my experiences it's a little bit similar to this. And so it's just, I don't know, sometimes when you want to get weird, it just creates that opportunity for you, and you honestly never know what you're going to get from doing it. You might stumble upon something and make something really great. I've done that a few times. And lastly, the fifth way I use to get over BeatBlock is by collaboration. You know, pull up to another studio, collaborate with a producer in person, or I will send a zoop to another producer, which means I will have, let's say that I had a whole project here, right? And I couldn't finish it or whatever. I couldn't think of the last sound it may have needed. I'll just go to File, go to Export, and do a zip loop package, which will take all the sounds that I used, and when the other producer receives that zoop, it will look the exact same way as it did on your computer. I'm sure you guys already know about that, but just in case if you didn't know. But me personally, I really prefer to collaborate in person. I feel like there's a lot more energy and it's a lot more fun. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. But yeah, I mean, this is the top 5 ways that I go about getting over BeatBlock, and I feel like it's a really efficient list. I pretty much never run into BeatBlock anymore because of this, on top of because I'm really expanding my music theory skills, which, like I said, is really going to be the most effective way for you to get over BeatBlock or to never have BeatBlock, is to just be able to play every scale, every chord progression ever that you could think of, just like Zaytoven or London on the Track and everybody else that can play piano. Check out the Cthulhu plugin. I will put a link to the loops that I play just in case you want to check those out, or some MIDI. Don't be afraid to experiment, and just in general, remember to have fun when you make music. I feel like a lot of people forget about that sometimes, and they go into this like, I have to make beats mode, and there's nothing wrong with that, but you know, spice it up, have some fun. Anyways, thank you guys for tuning in. If you didn't realize, the BeatBuffs is back. Also, I completely redid my website. It looks really good now. I'm pretty happy with it. There's still is some updates that I need to get done, but if you guys want to go check that out, definitely let me know. And there's also a free drum kit there. It's been there for a pretty long time, but it's free, and I've updated it within like the last maybe year. So go check it out if you haven't. I'm going to do another update to it soon, and I have a bunch of new sounds coming out, blah, 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 this and that. Thank you guys for tuning in. Have a great day. God bless.